seeing a fish tailing in the water and then saying, hey, I'm going to make sure I catch that fish right. So casting out there, getting them to eat, it's like exhilarating, and it never gets old.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Master Captain Angie Scott.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Woman Angler and Adventurer Podcast. I am at ICAST. Love meeting so many people. Known this lady for a long time, just haven't had her on the show. I think we met at ICAST for the first time.
Oh, yeah. Several years ago. Cindy, you go by Sid.
Sid. And how do you pronounce your last name?
Nguyen. It's a lot easier than it looks. It's just Nguyen.
Nguyen. Okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't know if there was some sort of more technical.
I know. They're always looking down the list for a W.
Yeah. So your friends call you Sid.
My friends call me Sid. It was actually a nickname my sister gave me because I was such a tomboy growing up, but it just kind of stuck. So If you know me by Sid, you probably are a fisherman or very close to me.
Gotcha. Very cool. Well, let's talk about fishing, how you got into it, and why it's such a big passion in your life.
I've been fishing my entire life, and for as long as I can remember, and a lot of basically I learned from my parents and my family, and it's just resonated throughout my entire life. Like everything I've done has been distracted by I want to go fishing instead. I'm at school, I'd rather be fishing. Things like that. I think these days I'm definitely like kind of chasing that feeling of like when I was a child, and learning and teaching others to enjoy the sport and like experience the things that I've gotten to do, because I've met so many people, and the first thing like people will ask me is, how'd you get into it? Or how do I get somebody, that I want to be involved into it? Like your wife or your child, something like that. That's what people want to know. Like, how do I get them engaged, And that's really important to me these days, because I feel like even like the kids in my family, like they're starting to get away from it. And, it's just how we grow up. Now it's just different. We're not... When we were growing up, we had to go outside and like literally get kicked out the house until, the sun goes down, things like that. And it's just a little different these days. And, as much as I love the sport of fishing and everything, I just want everyone else to feel the same way about it, So,
there's still hope. Like I was introduced to fishing at a young age, and then kind of got away from it a little bit, and then kind of picked up my passion again as I got older, like high school age, and competitive with my brother, and that kind of, got me re-interested in it.
Right.
So I think there's a statistic, I don't remember what exactly it is, and you may know, that if you introduce a kid to fishing before a certain age, there's a much higher likelihood that they'll pick it back up at some point in the future. Oh,
that's pretty cool. Like, I'm not aware of the exact numbers or the data on that, but I do believe that that's true. Mm-hmm. I do think that starting as early as possible is key, because I did. And so it works for me, and it's been working for like the children in my family. Mm-hmm. So, but there's a lot of things to it, because I've had friends, one of my best friends, he grew up fishing with his dad, and he absolutely hated it. Like he grew up like fishing crappie on the lakes, and he said his dad was just like always like, so much pressure on him and all these things. And as he grew up, he actually ended up, became a doctor, and, did his studies like on some island somewhere, and then just picked up fishing again, right? And after that, he was like, now I'm going to go back and like take my dad fishing things. And at first, like, he's like, I'm dreading this. Like, I just bought a boat. I don't even want to tell him. You know what I mean? But he said he ended up just recently finally letting his dad know that, hey, I got a boat. Like, you can come down here and fish with me. And he said it's actually been quite enjoyable because now it's, you know, it's like the pressure's off, and like it's just how you approach things and how you bring it into their lives, right? You definitely have to take them catching. It can't be like, I know if I'm taking my nephews, it better not be hot and sticky, and they have to start getting to see some action really quickly. Otherwise, they're not going to want to do it again. You know, when I would go out with my dad, I remember him telling me, going with you guys is just so tiring. You guys, you can't do anything on your own, you know? And eventually, like, we just had to figure it out because he was just going to be like, no, figure it out. I got you here. Now you got to do the rest of the work, you know? But we loved it growing up. And even to this day, like, I grew up catching croakers off of the jetties and the beaches in Galveston area. And they're in the drum family. They're like little bull, like, croakers that fight hard and they're great to eat. And I grew up fishing those, and every fall I still go back out there and try to catch those. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't grow out of it at all, and that's, for me, is the perfect time to take the kids out and try to get them to learn. That's really important.
Yeah, it's important. You know, there's a lot of really good tips if somebody's wanting to take a kid out fishing and introduce them to it. I did a little bit of that when I used to do like little charters and stuff, and I'd have parents that would want to have their kids experience just, you know, they've never fished before,
right? And
just kind of introduce them to it. And so it was cool. I had one where I took a father and son out, and the son had never been fishing before. And I took him to this little bluff wall where I knew there was going to be a bunch of bram hanging out. And I think we were using crickets.
Right.
Just real simple. His very first cast, he caught one. And it wasn't big at all.
Yeah.
But he was so excited. I'm like, your very first time fishing, very first cast, you catch a fish. And, you know, and I know he's going to be, you know, stoked about it for a long time. So, but yeah, you definitely need to think about the temperature, make sure they're comfortable, make sure, you know, that it's just, you're going to be doing something where they're going to be catching. You're not going to be sitting out there all day hoping to get a bull red, you know?
Right, exactly.
Just make it easy.
Yeah, and that's the cool part about our sport is that it's so versatile. Like, you can find different ways to do all of it. You know, you can go camping and go, you know, fish a lake. You can go sit on the jetties or a pier somewhere. You know, you can go offshore, you can go inshore. Like, there's just so many different ways to, like, get out there and enjoy the water. So, you know, just somebody's gonna be like, I don't have a boat. And I'm like, I didn't have a boat. I didn't have a boat till way later in life, you know? And even when I have a boat, like, some days, me and the family, like, we'll be like, let's just leave the boat today. Let's just go out to the beach and fish right off the beach, do some surf fishing or whatever it is, because, you know, it's still, you don't grow out of it.
Right. It's fun to mix it up. And do different things.
Absolutely.
That's why, I bass fish during the you know, spring, summer, fall. But then when I get to come down to Florida in the winter, then I get to, you know, still can do some bass fishing, but I can go do inshore and go snook fishing or, you know, whatever. It's so much fun to, you never have to get tired of one certain thing.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit more about the fishing that you do where you live. What do you like to do? What's your favorite?
My favorite all-time fishing is sight fishing for redfish. Or sight fishing for any fish.
Yeah.
That's really my favorite. Shallow water, pulling skiffs, and, you know, seeing a fish, feeding it, and, you know, bringing it on board. I just love that. I could do that. If I had to pick one way to fish the rest of my life, it would be sight casting for redfish.
Why do you think you are drawn to that type? Kind of the hunting aspect of it?
The hunting aspect of it, to me, it's kind of like the cleaner side of it too, most of the time, because we get out there and you know, you're not getting all bloody with like you are offshore and messy, you can do it fairly quickly and in the mornings and just get right off the water sometimes. I just love everything about it. It's
peaceful.
It's so peaceful to be out in the marsh and seeing like birds and crabs and all kinds of things out there. And you can do it like fairly quickly. You can get out there with just one other person. I could do it by myself. You can do it from a kayak even. I've done it from a kayak or a paddleboard. But something about seeing a fish tailing in the water and then saying, hey, I'm going to make sure I catch that fish right. So casting out there, getting them to eat, it's like exhilarating, and it never gets old. So definitely sight casting for fish.
Do you fly fish too, or just?
I fly fish every once in a while. Like I'll do it like in the fall when the fish are really heavy and thick. But I'm not the best fly fisherman. I wouldn't call myself a fly fisherman either. But I mean, I have the gear. I practice all the time, and every time I get back out there, I feel like I'm starting over again. But I love doing it, and I've done it in freshwater and saltwater. And I want to do some more of it, but it's whatever the elements bring that day. Like if it's not feasible, then I'm not going to try to like throw a fly.
That makes sense. It's like on one hand, you want to do whatever is going to give you the most success.
Right.
On the other hand, I've had other ladies on the show who have said, you pretty much, if you really want to hone in your fly fishing skills, you have to set down your conventional
and just
for
stick
a period of time, until you really get it, and then you can go back to that. But if you're out there with both types on your boat, it's not going to force you to really hone in
the other. And I think just because I'm pretty much a weekend warrior these days, that like I pick my poisons, that way I'm like, I'd rather not. Now if I have great friends that do fly fishing in Texas, and if I'm on their boat and they say it's a fly fishing day, then absolutely I'll go all fly, but I'm not opposed to being very versatile with what I'm doing. Some days it's bait, some days it's a top water, and every once in a while it might be a fly.
Gotcha. Cool. So what would your ultimate dream be in fishing? Like, do you have a goal that you'd like to work towards, or
for fishing?
I mean, if money wasn't a factor, what would your ultimate dream?
My next goal is to get I live very close to the water now. I have a water view place that I purchased in 2020. But I think my goal is to live on the water, waterfront canal, where I can drop my boat and just fish like any time for sure. And also to be able to have my family come down and be able to share that experience with them as well, just to be able to have a place on the water. So, definitely that's my end game there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That would be definitely a nice dream.
It is. I mean, it's like, I kick myself all the time because I was like, man, I should have bought something in 2020 when it was like, the market was great and like, I was right there. Like, why did I buy across the street? But that's my next goal is like, everything happens for a reason. And I love where I'm at now. I'm like 5 minutes from the boat ramp, and so I can go fishing. I do go fishing right after work sometimes, but yeah, living on the water and waking up and being able to just go out there and check the crab traps and things like that. That's exactly what I want. I want to be able to have that so I can share that with my family.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know you'll make it happen.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah. So let's talk just a little bit about ICAST while we're here.
Sure.
Your experience. I know you've been coming now. Is this your third, fourth year, or have you been coming
ICAST? I've probably been coming to ICAST since like 2014.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been at ICAST for quite some time, and this has been a cool year because Columbia's back. We weren't here for the last year, and then I guess nobody was here really. It was all virtual, right? The year before, so it's pretty exciting to see them have a new booth again and be back on board. And I'm looking forward to, hopefully I have some time today to go check out some of this cool stuff out here, because I feel like I've been out of touch. Like, some of the stuff out here is very techy.
Yes.
You know, and so I just want to learn to see what else is out there. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll take on some new interests out here.
Yeah. I think I'm meeting with Columbia tomorrow to look at some of their new stuff, so I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, we've got some new fabrics out, and I don't know. I love Columbia because from day one they have asked me about what I like, what I don't like, and when I give them a suggestion, the thing is, like, whenever they go in production, it takes a little while for them to get, so they're already working on, 24, 25 items, things like that. So every time I give them something, I know within the next year or two, it should probably come out, or, and they keep a very good line of communication with me. If I'm on the water, I can text our designer and be like, this is not working, or this is great, So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's always nice when companies listen to women's feedback specifically.
Absolutely.
And I know that they've put out a lot of great women's products over the years. So I love my Columbia gear.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see what they've got here at the show.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll be able to share some of that with the listeners. And then Costa Sunglasses, have you been by there?
I haven't been by their booth yet, but I definitely need to.
Yeah, the King Tides, you need to
really
pick them up, and they're super lightweight.
Nice.
They don't really look like they would be. They look kind of bulky, but they're incredibly comfortable. And they have two different shapes. One is more of a curved frame, and then one's a little bit straighter, just depending on what your preference is. But they're both super comfortable.
I definitely have a preference on certain sunglasses depending on the application that I'm doing that day, right?
Yeah.
The Cavalitos are probably my favorite for fishing.
Okay.
They cover your sides really well, like on the side of your temples, and don't let a whole bunch of light in. And fit my face good, and I have to admit, I have a little obsession with my Costas or my sunglasses. Period.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, there's so many different kinds with Costa. You have your lifestyle, and you have your your fishing, your just so many different styles and lenses, colors, and not one do I use for everything.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I am too. But I'll be curious to know what you think of the King Tide. If you're wanting that coverage, I mean, this is out of this world.
I definitely want to go by and check that out. And I think there's like a gradient one, like a lens too now, that I haven't tried out yet. Okay,
but cool. Well, I won't take up too much of your time because there's so much to go see here. And we've only got today, and I don't know if you're here at all tomorrow, but...
No, unfortunately I have to fly out tomorrow, go back to home and the puppy. but yeah, no, I'm glad I was able to make it out this year, and I'm glad I got to sit down with you.
Yeah,
finally.
Yeah. And, real quick, women's event last night. What did you think? Did you have a good time?
Yeah, it's definitely... Phoebe is amazing. Okay, so I love everybody involved in that. I've been able to personally go out and hang out with BB a little bit in South Carolina, so I don't know. She just melts my heart. She's just so giving and so I don't know. She's a genuine person. I can reach out to her just about anything. Whether it's like personal stuff or fishing, she's always there. Like, so it's yesterday was really cool to see how everybody comes together. I know in the past, like we were like in a crowded restaurant. It was like only a whole bunch of us, and I'm glad that they were able to like get a space where like there's so many of us that can get there, because it was very comfortable yesterday, and it was nice to mingle with new faces. I just wish Wish we had more time always, you know, when we do these things.
I do too.
Yeah.
I did notice a lot of faces I didn't recognize last night, so that was really good to see.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's a testament to all the efforts that everybody's putting in to try to grow, you know, between RBFF and hopefully my podcast and other, you know, ladies and influencers that are doing great things out there.
Yeah.
It's definitely, and BB, of course, you know, Angling Women in Action. And so who knows what we'll see next year. I mean, we're going to have to get a bigger space, I think, because there was a wait list. And
I know. I unfortunately, I was on the wait list because I just missed the whole... And she told me to. She personally sent it over to me. Said you need to like register, and of course I didn't get it right away. But
you got in.
I got in. Yes.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me, and we'll just continue to stay in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
On socials, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you.